All right, the record is ready. Let's all please stand. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Just a reminder as we get started with all of our meetings tonight and agendas to keep our mission and vision statement in mind as we make all our decisions. So we're going to open tonight with a public hearing on the proposed 23-24 budget. So I guess we'll open this hearing right at 7:01.
We'll go through everything in the certification process in the meeting. There's two things that we're certifying. Number one, we're informing the public of the maximum we can spend in FY24 from July 1st, 23 to June 30th, 24. We're also informing the public of our property tax rate for July 1, 23 through June 30th, 24. Expenditures are broken into 5 categories: instruction, total support services, non-instructional programs, other expenditures, and then total expenditures. Our tax rate, the total tax rate for the former Algona district is $9.97. For the former Laverne district is $9.26, and for the former Titanca district is $11.33. On the publication, the publication that we sent out, it has all 3 on there, and you can look at that and see that the only difference between the former Algona and the former Titanca just lies in the debt service of $1.36 per thousand. The only difference between Algona, the former Algona, and the former Laverne is that uniform levy, which in the reorganization, the state lowers the uniform levy of the district with the lower rate, $1. So theirs is $4.40. Ours is $5.11 rather than $5.40 because we receive the same total dollar savings of $225,000.
Any questions?
Per thousand. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Question is open for the public.
Yep. It's a public hearing.
So can you tell me the interest rate that TAG's being charged on their bond?
I don't know if I can. I would have to look that up, what the exact interest rate is. I know we looked up the repayment, it's May 31st, 2027, is when it's completed.
So why haven't you refinanced that?
Last year, 2 years ago, when we refinanced all of our debt, we had Piper Standard, our financial, they reviewed it. The cost to refinance it was greater than the savings.
Well, I called him and he told me just opposite. He told me a net savings of $35,000. That's after lawyer fees and bond fees. You'd have a net savings of $35,000.
I don't think that's the answer we got.
It wasn't
the answer we received when we.
Well, I talked to Matt Gillis of
Yep, Matt Gillis, yeah.
he told me he was $35,000 ain't much savings when you boil it down to
a few pennies per thousand.
per household.
Yeah.
All depends on your value of your house, but it's still a net savings.
Yeah, something we can certainly.
It's still, you know, the interest rate's down, so it's, the interest was, you know, they have to estimate it out 4 to 6 weeks to get it. You know, and the interest rates keep going down in this case.
Yeah, we could certainly,
It's too late now because the interest has gone back up.
Like I said, said Matt Gillespie's who we worked with too, just like you talked with, and that was.
Well, this is the figure he gave me, it was 35,000 net savings, and Joe sent me a deal. It was on the information from Piper Sadler last year, it was $20,000 to $30,000. And that was what it cost to refinance a bond.
When you talked to Matt, did he recommend that the district should have refinanced it?
He said he didn't dare recommend it because it'd make it look like he's trying to make money. Which, you know, you can do it every how often you want, but it makes that person trying to make a dollar, you know.
Your point is taken. I remember specifically asking that same question, because I tend to ask a lot of questions, and that was when we went through it and we were talking about consolidating debt, it was.
Because at the same time, you did Algona's district. And I went as far as Algona's was close to $9 million for the Gateway bond.
Our existing debt
You
with
combined
the
it.
Gateway was $9 million, yes.
Yep, you combined it all together for an 8.847 million
Yep,
at 1%.
correct.
I remember asking the question. That was,
And our take bond was
you keep
2.5%.
interrupting me. I'm telling you.
So I didn't hear.
Yeah, I said, I asked that question that you're raising about consolidating debt. And I don't remember exactly, but I believe the answer was, it was not in the district's financial best interest to
But-
consolidate, or it was a wash. That was the information that was given 2 years ago. I don't know what it was a year ago.
This was 2 years ago in March 21 of 2022, that was last year. He tried to do it the fall before. Because after I talked to Joe about it, emailed him, I finally found out who the bond issue was. I called him and he had the paperwork still on the desk because he talked to Joe the day before.
And you did this 2 years ago?
This was 2022.
And when you talked to him, Rod, and asked him, did he recommend the district refinancing, what did he say?
He didn't recommend, he didn't say not to.
He didn't
His deal was,
recommend
it's pennies per household, but I said, pennies per household, when you got fixed income old people on a household, it means $1. $35,000 over the life. The deal boils down to this. You go to the same tax rate, prorational. Algona had almost $9 million of the Gateway bond. Tetonka's bond issue is $900,000. So it's, I'm gonna say, 10% of Algona's, right? Algona's tax rate is 10%, or tax rate in dollars is 10% of Algona's tax rate too. So it's prorational, it's all the same.
I think the question is probably, is it fiscally responsible to use property tax dollars of $35,000 to save pennies on the thousand per individual?
Still a net savings of $35,000. So let me ask you this, would you take a $35,000 cut in your salary?
For what reason? To pay off debt?
For any reason. It's the same dollar. You're still
It's
talking
not the
a
same
net,
dollar.
a total dollar savings of $35,000 for the Tetonka district. It's a net savings. Why wouldn't you do it? You did it to Algona's district.
Recommended us not doing it.
I don't have any other.
Anyway, he
answer
told
besides that.
me, he goes, we cannot recommend, because if we recommend to do it and we're making $1, it looks bad for us. That's how it is. It's when you,
I guess we went by the financial advice that we were recommended to refinance.
but it's a net savings to take district of $35,000.
I don't know that it was ever.
And again, I think it's still the question, that $35,000, is it fiscally responsible to use property tax dollars to pay that $35,000 to save pennies on the thousand?
You're saving $35,000. A net savings after lawyer's fees, the bond issuing fees, Your net saving of $35,000. What did the whole Algona district save? When they did it?
I would tell you, if that's what I understood at that time, we would have refinanced. But that is not what any of us at this table understood at that time based on the information that we were given. So your point is well taken, that yes, it's to save $35,000, even if it is $2 per household, let's say, or $10 per household, it would have been the right thing to do. I
Well,
can
this-
certainly acknowledge that.
You
But
guys
that-
misunderstood, but you did the Algona's district, that's what's funny, you saved,
There was no, we just took the advice of the financial advice, and like you said, I don't believe it was presented.
but why did you do Algona's district?
Because it made a lot of
If I
sense.
remember correctly, I asked specifically,
Yeah.
is this gonna save us money? Is this worth doing?
It
And
saved
at that
us,
time, I'm not gonna, I don't know, I don't have the information, I don't think any of us have that information in front of us right now. If we would have understood that it was gonna save us $35,000, I think we would have voted to refinance. I mean, I think that would have been, if we would have been advised to do so. I do not believe that was the advice that we were given.
it's like the bond issue person said, 35,000 ain't much when you boil it down to per household, but it's still a net savings of 35,000.
And some financial advisors would not advise you to refinance for savings of under a certain amount of money either.
But it's still a net savings of 35,000. It's a net savings.
Well, as Brett said, Rod, we're sorry if that's something we missed or we weren't.
You didn't
we
do your
weren't-
due
and we weren't,
diligence.
We weren't advised to do that. We can't go back now.
I know you can't, but
So, I,
it's just funny that Algona's, it's all proportion. Algona, or tax district was 10% less, 10% of the total dollars roughly. Their total dollar base is 10%. You saved the same amount of dollars.
We saved a lot more dollars by refinancing.
Yeah, because it was a lot bigger,
Right.
and that's how we funded that building project. We weren't gonna refund the Titanca for more dollars. That's what we did in the Algona district, is we refinanced for more dollars.
You added more dollars to it with the gate bond, I follow that.
Right.
But when you boil the total tax dollar base of Algona's district, which includes take,
Yeah.
to which was what, 111 million or something like that, probably?
The Titanca valuation,
No, that Algona's valuation is what, 11 million or 111 million?
I'd have to look it up. Our total valuations are about 800 million prior to Laverne, and now they're 1.1 billion.
So it'd been 1.1 then back then. I had the figure at home, but that you sent me those figures of Takes District and Algona's combined district. It's still, when you proportion it out, it's still a savings.
I would say, point taken. If we made the mistake, sorry, but that's not what.
Well, it's a major mistake, but
like I said, we're sorry if we did. We went on the advice. Matt was right here on the screen talking to us the whole time, so.
And the only thing I would close with is, Rod, you asked Matt, would he recommend doing it, which is the same question we would ask him, and his answer is no. Correct?
right, he said no, but he cannot say yes because it'd make it look like his company is making $1 on you.
So
He goes, but theoretically, you're saving a net $35,000.
That was never anything he said to us. So. Thank you, Ryan. But, any other questions? Sir. All right, hearing none at this point, we will close the open, public hearing, excuse me, at 7:15, I believe my watch says. Okay. We'll go into then the regular, meeting, for the newly reorganized school district. As far as, we got all, everybody here listed, call the orders fine, roll call, we don't, at this point. Hearing the delegates, we need to approve the agenda that received from us.
So moved.
Thank you, Jay. We have a second.
I'll second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consent items would be the minutes from last meeting of the newly reorganized board.
I believe those minutes also include the negotiations with, correct? Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Any comments or questions on consent items you received earlier? All right, hearing none, need a motion then to approve the consent items.
So moved.
Thank you. Did we have a second?
Second the motion.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none then, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving into new business then, we move into approve our budget guarantee.
Typically, in April, it's best practice to pass the budget guarantee in case the district would not have any new money due to declining enrollment. So the budget guarantee is 101% of your financing from the year before. So in case it's not something we're expecting, but if we would pass the budget guarantee now for next year. Correct. In our situation, we certainly don't anticipate that, the reorganization, but we wouldn't want to not have that guarantee there.
All right, we need a motion then to approve the budget guarantee.
I do a motion that the board of directors, the Algonah Community School District will levy property taxes for fiscal year 2024 for the regular program budget adjustments as allowed in section 257.14 Code of Iowa.
Second.
Thank you, Brett. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none then, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We'll go into approving then the FY24 budget.
So we'll move through the information that we also had last month. Again, the certification process and the certification that we publish shows the amount of taxes that we're gonna levy for each program. We're certifying really two things, expenses as well as a total tax rate, and we'll break those expenses into 5 categories. This process has to be done by April 15th. It's actually April 30th this year. There's an extension, but we'll be done before April 15th. As part of that, you have to have a public hearing, which we have, and then adoption, which we're going through that process now. In this process, we inform what the maximum we're going to spend in the FY24 is, our re-estimate of this year, FY23, and then the actuals from FY22. So those are the 3 things that we are certifying, as well as the total property tax rate. And like we've talked about before, I'm going to talk about that tax rate broken into different levies, but what we're approving is just the total tax rate that we'll get to at the end. The different categories of expenditures is instruction, total support services, non-instructional programs, other expenditures, and then total expenditures. Our instruction is $18,091,200. Total support services, $7,151,000. Non-instructional programs, $1,050,000. Total expenditures, $4,259,342. Total expenditures, $30,551,000. When we talk about the tax rate, Dr. Owen asked a good question. That is per thousand. So when we use the number $9.97 per thousand, that's how that is calculated and how it is collected on your total valuations. Tom asked a question last month about our total valuations. The total valuations in the former Algonah district were a little over $800 million. With the reorganization of Laverne, they go to $1.1 billion. So that certainly we are collecting more, so our tax rate can go down in some cases, not in the uniform levy, which we're filling that bucket either way. Just we get less from the state.
So evaluations, like Laverne went up, so it's 1.1 billion.
Adding the Laverne land into ours moves it up to 1.1
So we're
billion.
getting more money into our district
Yep,
based on our current tax rate.
correct.
And valuations just went up also.
Yep.
We all probably saw
Yep.
our assessors'
Yep.
letters. So is it possible that we can reduce the tax rate?
You gotta remember that, when we're talking about filling that bucket, we are gonna fill it up to, we gotta get to 87.5%. So now we have $1.1 billion of taxable land filling that bucket. So we're gonna fill it higher than the state fills in the rest. So in that case, no, there isn't a way to have a lower rate. We don't have control over those rates, okay? So we gotta fill the bucket up. When we have more land valuations, we fill it higher, and then the state foundation aid fills in less. So in a district like Algona's where we have very valuable land, we fill ours higher than the property poor district. You know, prior to this year, we would have filled it less. When we take,
What if our land and our current tax rate exceeded our bucket?
you won't.
So if our land valuation was $2 billion,
Yeah, there's no district in the state that would be $5.40 would fill the whole thing. The lowest one is $8 right now.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but those assessed those don't take effect for another year, is that correct, on taxes? So this next fiscal year, we're paying on the current assessed value.
Correct. Everything's
And
always a
then-
year behind.
And then, so those letters we all receive would be the
FY
next
25
year. So,
I'm still saying there's more.
There isn't more evaluations than dollars needed. Every district in the state has a uniform levy of $5.40 per thousand. Our $5.40 gets us up to,
But the other stuff, I'm talking about the other stuff.
yeah, some of those are going down. You'll see when we go through that.
That's what I'm asking.
Yep, some of them go down, some of them go up less than they probably would have had to, but we'll get to all those as we go through.
So like the total tax rate of $9.97 per hour.
Yeah, which is about 70 cents less than last year's.
So it is.
Yeah, it was 1062
That's
last
what I'm
year.
asking.
Yeah, it was 1062 last year.
That is due to the savings from reorganization of the uniform levy. Laverne's uniform levy went to $4.40. That's something the state does. They lower their levy $1 because they have the lower tax rate, and then that'll go up gradually over 3 years to back to $5.40. The savings they get from that $1 reduction, the Algona district also gets in total dollars, and it's about $225,000. So then that gets taken off ours, so you'll see right here, I know this is hard to read, our uniform levy is only $5.11. It's not $5.40. There'll be 2 districts in the state that don't have a $5.40 uniform levy. Ours and the former Laverne next year. Theirs is $4.40. Other than that, the 2 are the same. Titanca's, the former Titanca and the former Algona is exactly the same. They have the same savings in their uniform levy, except for the debt service. So a lot of our 30 cents, 29 cents of our 60 cent is coming from that. The other 30 is we're able to generate more, and you don't need to ask for as much. But I'll get to some of that too. Make sense?
Yeah, I mean, my question is still.
So our tax rate
we
will
have-
be
We have
less.
a bigger tax base. We have higher land values that are appraised or taxed.
Yeah.
We have more money coming into the district.
We will fund more of the bucket than the state will. You gotta remember that, you know, the more valuable your land
It's
is,
still based on your enrollment too, though.
it's 100% based on that.
So you only can collect based on how many students you have.
Except for Pell. And we'll get to that.
So we can't ask, we can't.
Basically, our people.
Good people of Algona have to pay more than the people of Waukee who are property poor. Because residential is usually very, very low in valuations. Yep. That's the state funding formula.
So they get more from the state than what we would.
Then we for sure, yeah. Our bucket, usually it's about 60-40, ours isn't.
There isn't a lot that we can do as a district to, I mean, the valuations went out and the rate per thousand did go down by 50, 60 cents. What did that number?
Almost 60, yeah.
60 cents. And there's not a lot of leeway districts can do. Your leeway, you're at 1,000, you have $100, $1 a pebble. Okay, 67.33, $1 a pebble times the valuation. By 1,000, the valuation. And that's locked in figures. If the valuations increase, your pebble automatically increases because we have a $1 pebble. Instructional support levy, I'm not sure what our rate is. It's a combination of property tax and income surtax. So it's based on 2022
Yep, and that's,
income
ours is 6%.
is tied into next year's budget. So you don't know 23 income tax yet, so it's based on 22. We're getting 20.
And then cash reserve levy is the other one you would have control.
Cash reserve levy you have control, and management you have control. So that's basically it. Everything else is pretty much state-driven, enrollment-driven, and your pebble.
So let me ask it this way, so our budget, give or take, is $30 million. This is not the way it is, but, so say last year, our tax, what we're collecting property tax-wise, let's just say, covered 20 million of that 30 million, and the state fills in another 10.
Okay.
Now we're
22
22, and the state's filling in 8.
Correct.
And so we can't cut the tax rate, and make the state pay more.
No, we don't have control over those
Because it's a
rates.
set formula.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, good questions. So here are the factors that drive all this, that Jay was just talking about. It's always based on enrollment. It's your number of kids times the per pupil rate. Now, there's a few more pieces to that, such as in the 4-year-old enrollment, it's only funded for half of those. We get some supplementary weighting, which is weightings in additional to the student for special education students, ELL students, also in our reorganization, where we get 0.10 times our number of certified kids minus special ed. So there's some other factors that go into that. Our head count enrollment is going to go from 1,299 to 1,446. So you can say right away we're going to have 150 kids, and we're not. We're not going to have 150 more kids, but our certified enrollment is going to go up 150 more kids because the whole grade shared kids who were in Algona are now resident Algona. So we're in Laverne. So they were already going to school here, but they weren't counted by us. They were counted by Laverne. Same thing where we had open enroll students from Laverne. Now they're counted in ours. So our head count enrollment goes up 150, but our number of kids in our seat will not. Special education weightings are going up, and this is where you'll see typically when I show you these numbers on a normal year, they're about the same, maybe about a couple percent increase. Now our increases are higher because we're taking all the Laverne students and they're counted as well. So special ed weightings go up, supplemental weightings go up, total weightings go up. Our preschool enrollment doesn't, because there isn't anything coming from that. So that's one that is actually less for next year. So you add up your regular program district cost, that's your number of kids, times the per pupil amount, plus the budget guarantee, which we just approved if you would need that, plus your supplementary weighting, plus your special ed, plus your teacher salary supplement. These are all per pupil things that we get from the state. Professional development costs, early intervention costs, teacher leadership and compensation. You add up all of those per pupil amounts, that equals your combined district cost, which we're approving as a total today. So our regular program district cost will go up. Again, they're all around 14-13%. Because that head count enrollment's going up, our supplementary costs are going up. Because of those additional kids that we're accounting, our special education costs will go up because of additional special education students that we now count. Same thing, teacher salary, these are all per pupil, so they'll all go up. Professional development costs will go up. Early intervention costs will go up. TLC, which is also per pupil, will go up. You see we're staying right around that 13% because they're all per pupil. Dropout prevention doesn't go up that much because it's not a per pupil amount. That's based on a formula. So there you're back to where it's normally 3%. That 3% increase comes from the SSA increase for 3% for next year. Combined district cost, which is a per pupil amount, is about 14.6 higher. Now a lot of those dollars we were getting, we get whole grade sharing dollars, not at 100%. We get open enrollment dollars, but they're never included in this process and in these formulas. So this is what we have done a pretty good job of describing, so I won't spend as much time on it. So the funding per student is paid for by local property taxes. So we take our taxable valuations times $5.40, and that starts to fill the bucket. Whatever's left, the state fills in, state aid. That equals up to 87.5%, and then there's an additional levy on top for the 12.5%. Our additional levy for next year is going to be smaller, but generate more dollars. That's an example that you're talking about, because we have more valuable taxable valuation. So our uniform levy, which is $5.40 per thousand, additional levy, which makes up the last 12.5%, plus the instructional support levy, plus your cash reserve, there's two types of cash reserve, equals your total general fund levy. The amount per thousand that goes into our general fund. That's money that can be spent on salaries, benefits, and so on.
Do you have those numbers available?
What these amounts are?
Correct.
They would be,
There's one form that does have all the budgetary forms. There's one form that shows all the dollar amounts.
well, total general would be,
It shows, it'll show the, for example, Apple, 67 cents equals blank dollars. Apple, 33 cents equals blank dollars. Management equals blank dollars. It's a very simple form. It's not one of these in
it just has the rates.
the file.
Yeah, I don't know if I have that in there. I have the rates, but I don't have
Okay.
what that generates.
What's your memory on the cash reserve levy, SBRC, and cash reserve levy?
Those, I do have those in here. We'll get to those here.
All right.
So our uniform levy, here's some stuff we're looking for, Tom. It's going to increase 900, it'll generate 977,000 more.
Okay.
Okay, well, which looks like, about $5.5 million is what the uniform levy will generate. That's 18% more than last year. That means we'll get that amount less in state aid, because we have to fill the bucket to the same level. Our additional levy, that's the 12.5% on top, will generate $380,000 more. However, when you look at the additional levy, it's actually going down from last year. It's $2.55. It was more than that. So we're generating more dollars with a smaller rate in the additional levy. Our cash reserve is going up $195,000. There's two cash reserves. The other one's actually going down some. So a total of $895 is what our cash reserve is for next year. So our total cash reserve, yeah, $895.
$895,000 cash reserve.
Yes. Yeah, 700,000 and 195,000 are the two.
Do we have an estimate of special ed? How much of that is special ed?
Well, yeah, that would be it.
195.
Well,
The
total,
increase of
total,
195.
are you talking about total special ed debt?
Correct.
Because that'd be over 900,000. We're not able to tax for, we don't have the that available
You
to
can't go
us.
over 20%, right, okay.
So we're not able to,
So we think we're at 900,000 special ed, yeah?
yes.
Okay.
So there's other levies, all we've talked about is general fund. There's other levies that generate dollars that aren't for teachers' salaries, aren't for benefits, aren't for instruction. Management, Pebble, which we have a total of $1 per thousand for Pebble. We don't have Pearl. And then these others aren't driven by tax rates. Debt service, we don't have. Nutrition, or, lunch accounts, it's not driven by a tax rate. So our total expenditures in instruction, $18,000, $91,200. Total support services, $7,151,000. Non-instructional, $1,050,000. Total other, $4,259,342 for a total. This would be the Algona tax rate of $9.97 per thousand. The former Laverne, $9.26 per thousand. The former Titanca, $11.33 per thousand. That's this year. This is what we're re-estimating for FY23, and then this is what we actually spent in FY23.
All right, questions on that?
So we set the rate for like our cash reserve level, correct?
We set the dollar amount based on your special ed deficit, basically.
So again, that goes to my original question, so the state doesn't fill in the rest of the bucket for that, right?
No, that's all property tax true.
So we could
Yeah.
increase that
Yep.
based on what we think we need for the more value, the 1.1 versus the.
Well, all that's already figured in and what it's creating, though. If you look at this, so these are our rates by year. So our general fund rate is $7. It's 90 cents less than the year before. Some of that's, it was only 30 cents in the uniform. The rest of that is in our cash reserve. We didn't have to, the rate's not as high to generate those dollars. Because we have more time. Just like you said, the rate went down, but we generate more dollars, so that's good. Management went up 8 cents. But that's also because we're preparing for the future. Right. It's the amount that's generated is significant, that 8 cents per thousand. But that won't be there forever.
So big picture, it went down 70 cents per thousand.
Yes. Lowest we've had in over 14 years, bottom 10% of the state. There's over 280 school districts in Iowa who have a higher tax rate than Algona's.
The reason I'm asking all these questions is
Yeah,
because
people can hear this thing.
so people can hear them.
And it's always been a goal of our board in the past, is to be considerate of the tax rate, and when we can, lower it.
Yeah.
Continue to just look for ways to lower it.
Yeah. And then.
But this is, I mean, my point is, we have more valuation totals of this, more money, and property values are going up. Now, you point out it's not, we're not here when the valuations kick in, but
Most of our savings this year is though, it's good to make it important that it's from reorganizing.
It is, 29 cents.
We took the lower tax rate.
29 cents for sure. 29 of that 60 cent
We still
savings
lowered
is from reorganization. The other 30, we've lowered it. So we know, worst case scenario last year, that 29 cent, or part of it, what we called it, part of that 29 cents comes back. Worst case scenario. Yeah. Other things might not need to be where they are, such as management and cash reserve. So I think, continuing to be responsible about our needs and keeping our people of our district in your mind when we're doing that is something that's worked well. This would be the fourth year in a row that our tax rate has stayed the same or went down. And it's the lowest in the last service.
So
And
there's a bond.
bond, and that 12.5%, you have to generate, you have to ask for a lot more, which you don't have control over what that asking is. If you have low valuations, that additional levy has to be a lot higher. That's a big one, that's a big part right there. The additional levy, which is 12.5% of that combined district cost. The other thing that could be is that we aren't asking for the maximum levy in our district. You can ask for more. So if you're asking for $1.34 of PEPA, your property poor, your additional levy's higher, you have debt service, management cash with all those things. So there's districts that have a tax rate of 18 in the state.
I think it looks very good. I would always support education for all kids. I will always support whatever is needed for special education kids, always. We should take a hard look at the expenses of that program. But I think the presentation and the numbers look good.
And I think you're right, Tom, I would agree with you 100%. John Heischer coming from Laverne, who will work directly with special ed, I think that would be an objective for sure, is finding ways to have more Medicaid reimbursement, which is a way to shrink your special ed deficit, and looking very closely at all parts of our special ed program to reduce that debt. That's got to be a
Typically, special ed always has a deficit, but doesn't it?
yes.
Across the board.
No, yes. Yeah, for sure. This is our reminder slide to make sure at the end of this, we do need a motion to approve the certified budget.
I motion to approve the FY '24 budget as proposed.
Thank you, Jay. Do we have a second? Thank you, Brent. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Just want to say thank you to Joe and Lisa for all the hard work on the budget and all the good information that we got this evening. With that said, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, after that, we move into a Timberline agreement.
Timberline is our Timberline billing service. They assist us and most school districts in the state of Iowa as a Medicaid provider, in accessing our Medicaid reimbursement and covered services for that. That includes both special ed services and primary preventative services that are in the school-based setting. We do have both of those that they help us with. They work with our staff to assure we have the right documentation, that we process the documentation the right way, and to help us reduce that special ed deficit that we were just talking about. We've used Timberline in the past, and I would recommend Timberline again for next year.
All right, so we continue to work on the special ed. So,
It is 6%
yep.
of the net reimbursement from Medicaid.
Correct.
So the more they are reimbursed from Medicaid, the more they
The more they collect, the more they get. All right, we need a motion then to approve the Timberline agreement.
So moved.
Thank you. Todd, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Brent. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Looking to approve a storage agreement or bus barn lease with the Cassuth County Fair Association.
And we've recently received our bus barn lease from the Cassuth County Fair Association. That lease agreement's for $17,000 annually. We've had it for a number of years. It's a good agreement that has worked well for both sides. This is an October to October agreement. So going into the new school year, we kept it on the new board's agenda. So I recommend the bus barn lease from the Cassuth County Fair Association. Yeah, it went up that year.
Very, very good rate for the size of building it is.
Very good idea. I want to approve the bus building, barn.
Thank you, Brent. Do we have a second?
Second the motion.
Thank you, Tom. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, looking to approve the Algonquin Association Educators Tentative Agreement. That's been considered.
Yep, a tentative agreement between the Algona Associate of Educators, our teachers, has been reached. Andrea worked with me as part of that negotiations process. The first piece to the agreement adds $2,000 to each amount of the base wage. So our BA is over $40,000. The second part adds $1,500 to the extra duty base wage in attachment 1. So that's the rate that drives all of our supplementary contracts for coaches and sponsors. The third piece is a $2,150 increase in pay for all teachers. The fourth part is an additional $500 for teachers in years of service 1 through 15. And those combined equal a 4% increase in total salary. There were some language changes. One being a language change to the horizontal base wage, that if the classes they take are a benefit to the students of the district relating to the teaching assignment, and the district goals or district initiatives, they will be approved. The second language change is to business leave to include real estate. The next language change adds girls wrestling coaches to the extra duty pay scale, and winter cheerleading, both basketball and wrestling, to that pay schedule. And the last one is a $500 stipend for coaches and sponsors who coach or sponsor 2 activities. We already had it in there. If you coach 2 sports, you got $500. This is if you're a coach or a sponsor, $500.
Real estate.
Yep. So we have business leave in our, it was already in their contract, and it lists the reasons that they could take it for. And right away, it's any business that can't be conducted between the hours of 8 and 4 on a weekday. But then it goes into specifics. And one of them was land holdings, but it did not have real estate closing. So we just added the words real estate closing to the business leave.
I think if they could, we talked a little, if they could do that after school, most of them do that.
Yeah.
A lot of the times that's done that way, but just in case there's an opportunity, a reason they couldn't.
So this is, said 500 for teachers in years 1 through 15, 4% increase in total salary. What is this for teachers not in years 1 through 15?
It's $2,150 for all teachers, right above it there in number 3.
Yeah, I know, but it's
And then
4%.
another 500 for, so those 2 numbers together is a 4% increase.
So the teachers the higher paid teachers will be getting less than 4%.
Yes.
And the beginning teachers will be getting more than 4%.
And when we figure the 4%, we add up all the total increases, how we do
What are we doing? Supplemental wage?
that. It's
It's 3, it's already been approved.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
But this, we have this figured in our models, supplemental aid, reorganization, transportation equity. This is certainly a fair agreement.
Any more questions?
So so you start new grad, bachelor's, 40,124.
Correct.
If you're here for 10 years, you go to 41,900.
No, that'd be 10 hours.
That's where you get hired at?
If you came in with a BA,
10 years of experience?
not 10 years experience, that's 10 hours.
Additional class credits. Additional credits.
We don't have a longevity schedule at all, which is part of the reason why we do that 500 for people who are early in the years. It somewhat mimics salary schedule, I guess in theory, but,
So like the 2150 increase,
yep.
it's not a percentage based on your current salary, it's just wherever you're at, that's what you're gonna get.
Yep. 20, yeah.
So it's a bigger jump for people lower.
Percentage-wise.
Than somebody who's been here for 30 years.
Correct.
Any further questions? All right, we need a motion then to approve the tentative agreement between the Algonah Association of Educators and the Algonah Union School District.
Motion to approve the tentative agreement.
Okay.
Thanks, Andrea.
All right, do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, thanks, Lynn. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Contracts coming out soon, or have they been? Okay.
Well, I mean, it's a new system for me, all that electronic, but I think I'm ready to just hit a button tomorrow.
And I think anything additional comments, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's what we're here for.
Anything we can do to encourage people to be sponsors, we're involved in multiple things, activities, helps our students. I think that's very beneficial, and I'm glad to see the extra stipend put on there, because they put in way more hours than the 2,500 or
Yeah, I think by
whatever.
the time you take into consideration the hours they actually do it, I think, I would actually, I mean, I know it's working out, but I'd like to see them more aggressive in the future, just for coaches and sponsors, just to.
And in that agreement, we did add $1,500 to the number that generates theirs, which that's not always been done, as it has been done in the last 3 years, but those supplemental contracts are important to us. Those coaches and sponsors are important to us.
The longer your coach, the higher you get paid, similar to.
Somewhat, because we have 3 lanes to it, years 1 and 2, 3 and 4. And so, a little bit.
Different sports, maybe different things.
They do, there's different percentages for different sports based on length of season.
Good questions. Any more? All right, hearing none, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries for the tentative agreement. All right, next we're going to approve the teacher association.
A tentative agreement between the Algonah Education Services Association, this is our teacher associates, and the district has been reached. This agreement adds 67 cents per hour for each employee. The teacher associates will also be paid their regular day for each of the first 3 no school days for inclement weather. The explanation for that, that's already in the teacher's master contract, that we don't make up days 1, 2, and 3 for inclement weather. In that case, I think it's a good, fair agreement that we do the same for the associates. And then the third is business leave language change, just as we did for teachers, that added the real estate piece to that.
I'm in favor of anything we can do to continue to make our teacher associates do a better, more, well, more reasonable wage.
This is also a 4% increase, just like with the teachers. Also remember 2 months ago, we approved anywhere from a 3 to 16% increase for those people. So at the very least, someone is getting 7% more next year than what they got at the start of this year for our teacher associates.
And what does this bring our hiring
Our-
base or up to for the?
It's 13, because there was nothing in the agreement for hiring base, so it's just what we increased it to.
Okay.
So it's 13.
Okay.
All right, any more questions? Hearing none, we need a motion then to approve the teacher associates.
I'll motion to approve teacher association.
Thanks, Brent. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Todd. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, we also have one more group to approve, not covered under master contracts.
So this would be a recommendation of a 4% salary increase, same thing we've had in the others for all employees not included under the master contract, which would include building principals and administration, Jared Cecil, James Roder, Rudy Week, Jill Schucher, Brad Sudol, Janie Eischen. In central administration, Lisa Chapman, Jed Freeberg, Tyler Lighting, Merrill Mueller, Jeff Gish, Jill Nelson. All custodians, all food service, all bus drivers, all secretaries, and the employees on the Mitchell system, which would include Danelle Van Gorkum, Stephanie Keeker, Teresa Keeker, Aaron Keeker, Vicki Steenhook, Maria Bradley, Laura Severson, McKay Schucher, Karen Sankey, and Liz Bradley. That 4% again aligns with the same salary increases for teachers and the teacher associates.
I think we've all, for past, we've done that in the past, and how we've always tried to handle all this, so. Any questions or comments?
Thank you for listing your names out.
Yes.
Yeah.
We haven't done that in the past. I think it's good to
See who those people are.
Yeah. We need a motion then to approve the not covered under master contracts.
So moved.
Thanks, Jay. Do we have a second? Was that you, Lang?
You can.
Oh,
Well,
I didn't know, I heard it
I
coming
was
that
you.
way, but I didn't hear it. Brett, all right. All right, we have a motion and a second there at least. Any further comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Iowa Lakes Career Connect contract.
We have a number of contracts with Iowa Lakes. And I want to start by saying I did a presentation for leadership out going last week and had those people, and it's a great program in our community, but talking about all of the wonderful programs that are offered for our kids. We have 32 courses taught in our building by our people for college credit, and we have 120 more hours that our kids have taken this year for college credit. So it's really amazing the connection we have with Iowa Lakes. This contract, the Career Connect contract, is for courses that are taught now going up, that we reimburse them at $31.11 per credit per student, which is 17% of their regular tuition. So those great opportunities that I just talked about that our kids take advantage of, we get at a fraction of their regular cost, so it's a really good deal. So I do recommend the approval of the Career Connect contract with Iowa Lakes again for next year.
So moved. Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Lane. Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Open enrollment.
We have 3 open enrollment students. They've all met the required, not timelines, but reasons for open enrollment. So I recommend the approval for those students.
So moved. Okay, thank you, Jay. Do we have a second? Thank you, Brett. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Last thing on this agenda is the approved contract, personnel contract.
Rachel Arnold, Library Teacher Associate at Bryan Elementary. Trevor Arnold as a volunteer football coach. Jackson Miller, High School PE and Strength and Conditioning Coach. Those are 2 separate contracts. Justine Garman, 5th grade Social Studies. McKay Schucher, Bryant Secretary. Lori Ludwig, Middle School Special Education. And Kara Ann Brinke, 4th grade at Lucia Wallace.
So we're pretty well on hiring, just a few more.
We have high school English and middle school ELA, and then the high school vocal. We have three positions left to go.
Done a pretty good job so far, so that's great to see. We need a motion to approve contract. Thanks, Brett. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, thanks, Todd. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, we are going to move away from the newly reorganized school district agenda and move into the Algonquin Community School District agenda. Do we need adjournment on that? Okay. Thank you.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Jay. We are adjourned. Just wasn't there, so I thought maybe we were supposed to move and not, my fault. All righty, we are adjourned from that one. We'll now move into the Algonquin Community School District. We need a motion then to approve the agenda. Thanks, Brent. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Todd. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda approved. We don't have any during the budgets. we're gonna finally move into communication aboard, and Jason Bradley's been waiting patiently here to talk to us from PMC Advantage and will present on our EMC insurance.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity to speak. I had talked to Mr. Carter last year about it, transitioning from my previous role in the auto industry into insurance, and I just looked at last year that we didn't have the EMC contract at PMC Advantage. We have quite a few school districts, and I just kind of made it my personal goal that with the connection I have with the school and the amount of time I've spent in the school and the fact that I want to see everything being taken care of correctly. Not saying it's not now, I just want to have my hands on it. I had mentioned that I would like the opportunity to become the agent of record for the EMC contract that's out there. At PMC Advantage, I've got, just in our Algona office alone, we have 10 employees in there that all were there. Every one of them would be their hands-on to be able to work on any of the needs that the school district would have. Both I and then Danielle Fett, she would be the primary CSR on the project for both 93 Algona grads. Put our kids through school here. EMC is the best company for you guys. There's not a better company that's out there. So I can't, in no way, shape, or form would I try and quote you someplace else. You are covered where you need to be covered. The way EMC runs their contracts, I can basically look at it, but I can't assist. I can't give any sort of information or anything on it until I become agent of record. So there's nothing I can't promise you savings. I can't promise you anything like that. I can just promise you that once it's in our hands, we'll give the 100% diligence that needs to be put into that. As far as the change would go, there's an agent of record letter that would have to be typed out by you guys. We just met with EMC and Jester this morning. We were in some training down in Ankeny. So the way this would work, if the board approved to do this, your current agent would still be the agent of record until 7/1, and then 7/1 we would take over. But if the agent of record is put in there, then we would work with your current agent through the renewal process so that we are completely up to speed with everything. So we just don't jump in on 7/1 and have no idea what's going on. We've spent a couple months now going through the policy, looked at some things, but until we actually are the agent, I can't really talk to you guys about it. But would appreciate the opportunity. One of the things I could tell you is when I look at what I pay for a service, I look at the service that comes with it. And I'm in this building 60 to 100 times a year. I sit down at the track at track practice, noticing that we're getting roofs put on, baseball sheds and everything else. Those are things that I'm going to register and I'm going to see, because you guys have busy day-to-day stuff. It should be one of those things where I don't get the call. I'm going to see it here and be like, hey, I notice we're doing some construction work out there. Is there something we need to be insured or whatever? That would be my promise to you, is just on that I would be as readily available as you want me. My theory up front was I wanted to commit to 12 touches a year, once a month, stop in, whether it be come here and just if there's any issues or anything that you guys have or any questions that you would have, I would be there for those. But then during the renewal process, which would be basically starting April 1st until June, you'd see me a lot, because I would want to make sure that everything's getting done correctly. But like I said, whether it's your current agent or us, you're going to be paying the same amount of premium either way. It's just I think I can make up on the service side of it for you. Yeah, so that's.
What is EMC insurance?
They provide all of our liability products.
It's all the property liability, excess liability, umbrellas. It's everything that's not health insurance.
All of our big, paid out management. EMC covers like 98% of schools. like Jason said, I certainly wouldn't be comfortable with leaving EMC.
I would say, from what we heard today, I mean, it's a very, very, very small amount that are on EMC. They started their company in 1974. They have been pretty much the forefront of the school, any school size. We found out today that they even do colleges, but the schools, the public schools is that's their hotspot. And they're doing some things. I mean, there's gonna be some pretty decent changes coming down the road here for the renewal this year. Stuff that I would wanna be available and make sure I can explain and help with.
Thank you, Jason and Danielle, for being here tonight. Not an action item tonight, just information for you. It's something we could add if you chose into agendas in the future.
If we wanted to, I mean, we talked about maybe we need to start talking about it.
Probably. I think it'd be beneficial if we were gonna make a change, because then they would be closer to the renewal.
Yeah, so you guys, from what we found out today, you're not even gonna get your renewal for probably about another 2 weeks. And then we wanna start that process. They need to have everything back. Normally they give you 45 days before renewal, so they could wait all the way until May 15th to do that, to get you the renewal. That would be late in the year to be trying to do that. I think you'll probably see it before the end of April. Like I said, before I can even get involved, it would just be the matter of they need the agent of record letter if you so choose to do that, and then there's a lot of process that comes in after that.
Okay.
So, and I would be available for any meetings anytime, so just let me know if there's anything you guys need. All right?
Well, thank you for the time, Jason.
Thanks, guys.
All right, consent items are next on our agenda. You should have received those in your packets on Friday, Thursday, Friday last week, and then there's one sheet of additional in front of you. And any comments, Joe, or anything on the consent items?
Everything is routine for the month. We continue to run with revenues higher than expenditures. We really anticipate that closing really close, at the end of the year, which we anticipate. But things look good. Our insurance fund continues to be very, very strong. We're working with our Holmes Murphy and our brokers on health insurance renewals for next year. And we will not receive an increase for the 4th year in a row. Not very many people can say that. But we can right now with great coverage for our people. So things look really, really good for us on health insurance.
And then the extra sheet that you had handed out, Lisa and I were talking earlier, that 28,000 for electrical may seem big and only shows 3, but that is for the whole district. It just doesn't go all the way out. There's just not enough lines or room on the paper.
It's not listed on actually.
Yeah, so just want you to know that is for the district as a whole. Thank you, Brent. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thanks. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Go ahead, Lori, go ahead.
Where did we remove a tree? I think it's by the baseball field, when I read that right.
Okay. Any other comments or questions?
Ian's pleasure is making my
But we're sure if it falls the wrong way or.
We're volunteers to do
There
it.
you go.
I wouldn't want to get comments moved in on that.
Yeah, insurance guy, I'm sure. All right, we have a motion and a second. Hearing no further comments, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, we're gonna move into superintendent's report.
We had a good work session on facilities a few weeks ago. SiteLogic provided some really good information for us that we needed, and we anticipated most of it. We know our elementary schools are our oldest buildings. We know the longevity of them is not, 30 years. But I wanted to review that night a little bit to create some conversation with you guys. I think they're, without question, elementary replacement building has to be part of our facility goals and our needs in the future, and we need to think about that. That project would require a general obligation bond from the community. And I think the easiest way to explain that, but we've been very lucky in the district that we've been able to build without property tax dollars up to this point. With building costs now, we just don't generate enough dollars to build a $40 million elementary. There would never be a scenario when we do that. Would have to come as part of the general obligation bond. I do think we could do it in combination with the SAVE and PEPAL dollars, but I couldn't ever fund it completely that way. So we need to remember that. So I would recommend looking at this project 5 years down the road so you can prepare yourself with your SAVE, with your PEPAL dollars, and your community for what type of commitment they would be making to that type of facility.
What would roughly, so one elementary, $41.
It'd be like a pre-K 5 facility.
What would that cost per thousand?
$2.60 generates 32 million, I think. We generate a lot of dollars. We talked about that a lot tonight, right? I know a district in eastern Iowa.
32 million over how many years?
Does he do that on 20? I think he does do it on 20 years. I know a district in eastern Iowa who passed a general obligation bond the first week of March, $2.60, same number we're talking about. It produced $10 million for them. So we produce a lot of dollars. And again, the other thing.
We do, but $2.60 because our evaluation is a lot to.
Yeah, I would never want to go with the 260. I think you have to find a way to look at $1.25, $1.50 combination of SAVE and PEPAL existing funds, and combinations of what we're doing with our budget. This is the time we can reduce this and put this in its place. I think those are the types of discussions and why you need time to prepare for this.
I think the reality too is that 5 to 7 years down the road, we're looking at some major expenses for our current elementary schools.
Possibly.
Yes.
Possibly.
That's what
To
we're
maintain them.
So what year does the middle school SAVE project end?
Well, we combined it all, so it's 2030, I think. Actually, I know, it's 2030.
And that's what the gateway project.
That's everything, that's all of our debt. Complete that in 2030.
And how much, so it's going to be saved versus,
SAVE is it's the 1 cent sales tax that's distributed to districts on a per pupil basis. We generate.
so if we waited till our other debt was gone, we could use that same money
Sure. You can use.
towards an elementary school.
Right now, we're paying 1.4 million per year out of SAVE towards debt. So we generate about 1.7, and we are paying about 1.4. In all of the forecasts that Piper Sandler has done for us, because SAVE's not going to go down. Typically, the amount continues to go up. So that's very, very safe. Thinking you spend 1.4, 1.5 out of SAVE because you're going to generate more. We also generate about 1.1 in PEPAL. Prior to the reorganization, that was about 850,000. So there's about 300,000 of extra dollars there as well. All those could be in consideration for future projects.
So is it safe to say in 7 years, you can do a middle school without having to pass, or a new elementary without having to do a general obligation?
I do not believe we can ever build an elementary without a general.
But you could do half and half.
Yeah, you can do something like that.
So a $20 million bond payment.
Yeah, yeah.
That's where
For
we
sure.
should go to Which would be 262, 125 to 150.
180.
Yeah. And I think you could look at, you know, is your management asking have to be where it is at that point? Cash reserve, same thing. You can look at all of your levies and prepare for levies. So maybe those can go down at the time you put that in. So we can say that $1.80 that we're asking in the general obligation bond is really only $1 more per thousand for you than what you're paying now. Those types of.
Creates some, requires some time to plan that.
Absolutely.
A picture.
And to do the planning in the forecast, that this is what we're trying to do to get there over the next 7 years.
I think if the next 5 years or 7 years, and maybe we set a goal, and we do it, just, this is our, like you said, I mean, it's
Conversations with the city about old existing buildings and things like that we have, you know, to create a.
it's needed. At one point, I had 4 kids in 4 different buildings.
Yeah, certainly, our ability to be as efficient as possible and meet the needs of our elementary kids is hindered by 3 buildings. There's no doubt about that.
Moving 5th grade to an elementary building creates more space.
Out here. Yeah.
I'm not sure if 5th graders in middle school building is.
Yeah, I would say philosophically, I would put 5th graders in self-contained as well. So they're, you know, not only does it save space, but I think it's a better transition for them.
And to build this one to where we build it to what we need. I think when we built the middle school, we built a great facility, but we had to build within the dollars. We had, it was very, a little more constrained, and I think we need to make sure we're building the right appropriate facility for our needs.
So really, you know, as part of this facility discussion, the elementary needs that we've discussed, but then there's also the field house needs that we have. And we have large gaps in our facilities in the district. I gave the examples of, we have eight basketball teams that try to practice in 2 gyms. We have 4 wrestling teams that in half of those were wrestling on a stage. You know, so we have major holes in our facilities that I think we need to upgrade. And it just comes from, you know, we have girls wrestling, which we didn't have before. We have more kids participating in some of our middle schools than we did before. We built the middle school gym, a great facility, but it didn't give us more space. We already had a middle school gym, so we didn't gain anything through some of those things. And really, over time, the district just hasn't kept up with the facility needs in some of those areas.
And, sorry, to interrupt, since then, we've added 7th grade volleyball, because we used to have an intramural in the spring, and now they're both trying to practice.
Right, yeah, we throw 70 girls in the gym and try to practice. So those have created the strains we have, and I use strain, you know, we're in dire need of more gym space, of more wrestling space, to provide the appropriate facilities and the appropriate room for our kids.
We have kids start practice at 6 and don't end basketball till 8 o'clock sometimes.
Yeah, because the early lates.
The early late switch, which is
So it's
conducive to
just
school.
needed. I think it's pretty obvious. As I talked about in the work session, I just think it needs to be optimized, keep the cost down, and get the most space possible. Like creative thinking as far as making it
Yeah.
the most functional, useful space as possible.
Well, I wanted to hear your guys' just discussion on, you know, pursuing a field house project, you know.
I agree, we want functionality over a showpiece. It doesn't have to be like clear.
I mean, it's, we're talking about where it's located, it's in the back of our school.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, it's not, it's space.
Yeah.
You know, Humboldt's putting on a multi-purpose room, I think is what, and it's a metal structure, and metal structures anymore look nice. It's not like the old Morton building, you know, I mean, they look nice, and I mean, so I would not be opposed if it means getting what we need.
If you could make it match the Gateway project, and the field, and the softball diamond, and the baseball diamond, it's just gonna be part of there.
And in that discussion, I wanted to bring up. You know, SiteLogic did a nice job for us. They gave us some great information. Atura, who had designed all that stuff, I think keeping them engaged in our needs is valuable to us.
I'm more comfortable with the Jura. I don't know what kind of obligation we have to them initially, just at least getting them started and getting a budget, you know, how much does that cost our district?
It's not, you know, they would come in and, you know, similar to the Gateway project, we create some committees to start to talk about needs.
Okay, but I'm just saying, so like if we ask them, I don't want to do it if it's $13, $15 million.
Yeah, well, we talk to them about those things.
But are we
They'll tell us
obligated, what do we pay them?
a few $1,000 for them to do some initial planning, to take us up to the bid process.
Just not 2,000, you said?
A few thousand, yes.
I think, I would like to see engage them, see what they have. I think they already have some stuff in the works, just by what we've already been working with them.
And that gateway project, that building is so impressive. I mean, it's just I think that was.
They did such a wonderful job of meeting our needs. You know, that's the best thing about the Gateway, and I say this all the time, is how well it works. And that's what we need from this project as well, something that works really well to fill our needs.
I think I would stay with the company. I did appreciate the other company coming in and showing the information on the grade schools.
Yeah.
It was interesting seeing the flooring, the lighting, and the need for electrical and plumbing. So we know those are repairs in the future, if something happens, we have to take care of it. If we pursue this project, I think it's really important that we put the information out to the public. And we're looking at completing this project. It'll take X number of years, 2030, financially to complete it. In some place in around 2028, we're looking at pursuing obligation bonds for a new elementary school and trying to pass that thing and start construction in 2030.
Planting the seed is important.
I think it's got to be part of the discussion. The building's going to need attention by that time period, even more attention as they get older. So it should be part of that overall discussion and make it a part of, we may not be the same board. Okay, very easily, a whole different board, make that part of that discussion. We're looking at a Field House project, obligation bond, and using save money also for this new elementary school.
I think we have an idea.
Yeah, that's, I
The
wanted
budget
to
for this.
hear some
Yeah.
discussion, and that probably creates some conversations.
I think we talked about too, I know this might seem futile, but as we look to continue to be a school with academics and athletics and extracurriculars and clubs, that we can continue to be a place that draws people in versus react to other things. And I think we need to focus on being that place that is leading facilities and programming and providing the best for our students. So that, because there's other places closer to bigger cities, urban areas that have these things, but we want to give our community an opportunity to bring more people in and say, hey, this is a place I can see us move to have our.
I agree.
And I think provided opportunities. We want to continue to be able to provide first-class opportunities for our kids, but then raise your family in one place or another, right? Which is something special to all of us. Okay. Good.
Anything else, Joe?
No.
All righty. We got an administrative report here about elementary K, and we appreciate you, Casey.
I have to step out, because I have to do it with my kids.
Okay.
I don't know about that, but Verizon's.
No, I haven't worked for a while.
I can text my wife and say,
Okay. We still have enough for a forum, so that's good. Thank you, Brent, for all your discussion today.
Kirsten Grant, our elementary tag instructor. Last year, she served as our K-12 instructor for a year, get us through a Stretch. She's here to talk about the program.
Yeah, so like Mr. Carter said, I just wanted to come and give you some updates on the tag programming that we've made in the last 2 years since I've taken over a lot of the identification process in all things tag. Mrs. Henderson, Molly Henderson, is the other tag teacher. She couldn't be here tonight, so I'm talking as the tag program as a whole, like district-wide. So the first thing I wanted to talk about are some of our identification changes. The first 3 items kind of talk about the tests that we use for identification and how we're making it more equitable across all of our students. So the current testing that we use is the COGAT, and that tests a variety of measures for giftedness. And the way we've made it a little more equitable is that we now do a whole grade screener at the end of 2nd grade and begin end of 6th grade. In the past, students have only tested for talented and gifted through a nomination process of other teachers, and we've never tested a whole grade. And through my education, getting my master's in talented and gifted education, I've learned that there's a lot of bias and not many people know what to look for in talented and gifted. So by providing that whole grade screener, we're actually identifying more students, twice exceptional, and more diverse students as well into our talented and gifted program, which is really cool to see. So since it is a whole grade screener, it's a 2-step process. We start with, the first round is the whole grade, and then from there we take the top 20%, and then ultimately after collecting nominations, looking at their testing scores for COGAT and other measures, we narrow it down to the top 10%, make it into the talented and gifted program. Since we've also switched to an online platform, we are able to offer Spanish lead testing, which is a really great opportunity for our diverse students who are moving into our district. So they also get a chance to test in a way that is meaningful for them and they're able to understand. Along with identification, we also started with a committee to help determine who is identified as talented and gifted. And this committee will come together and we look at all of the data of the top 20% to determine who the top 10% is. So it's not just one person making the decision, it's a group of people, and all bias and identifiers are removed. So there's no names, there's no gender, it's just their student ID number when we make that decision. And that has helped a lot too in the identification process. So those are the changes for identification. As we go forward, we do have some goals for the future. 3 big goals that we have are to provide some more extensions for our younger students, since we don't technically identify and start servicing gifted until 3rd grade. We're working to create an extension opportunity for our 1st and 2nd graders with reading and math curriculum. In the future, we would like to incorporate a reevaluation process for the identified talented and gifted kiddos, because much like special education, talented and gifted is just the opposite end of the spectrum. So while they might benefit from the program's needs and goals that we make for them in 3rd and 4th grade, they might no longer need those services in 7th and 8th. So being able to have a reevaluation process like special education is something we would like to look towards in the future. And then finally, expanding our committee. Currently our committee is just our 2 talented and gifted teachers and then some instructional coaches. But we would like to expand that to include other teachers and staff members and even some community and parents as well on that committee. So then just some program highlights from the year. The big one is Cuddies. We are going to be taking our 3rd through 5th graders, tag students, to Cuddies, which is in the Spirit Lake Okoboji area on April 20th, where they're going to be presenting their passion projects that we've been working on these last couple weeks of school. And they're going to get to present and collaborate with other talented and gifted students from the area. So our students are really looking forward to that. We have some cool projects. When we get to some of the pictures, I'll tell you what some of their projects are. We also were able to take our middle school talented and gifted and high school talented and gifted kids, along with the middle school jazz choir, through the help of the Conover grants, to go see The Lion King at the Civic Center just I think it was last week, 2 weeks ago. So we've really benefited from the Conover grant the last 2 years, and it's been a really great opportunity to provide our students. They get to go for free, they don't pay for food, and we cover all of those things through the Conover grant. And then finally, we're doing our first ever showcase. And I actually have invites for you if you would like to come. This is going to be for our 3rd through 8th grade tech students in the PAC, where they're essentially showing off their thing that they have felt the most passionate about throughout the year. And a lot of them are going to be, my 3rd and 4th graders especially, are going to be doing their passion projects for Cuddies. But then Mrs. Henderson has also done some service projects with her middle school and high school students that they're going to showcase as well. And then just some pictures. These are some of our elementary students. We've worked with the library a couple of times, and so we've got to take our students to the library where they get to check out books and read books that are challenging for them. The 2 middle pictures, you can see that's 2 of my students in their passion projects. We've worked with the community quite a bit, and for one of them, I've got 2 students who are working with Tyler Lighting right now. They're very interested in electronics and careers in engineering and technology. And so they got to come over to the middle school the high school this last week and take apart Chromebooks and like identify all the pieces, and they had some great interview questions for Tyler, and he was awesome to work with. Another one of my 3rd graders is researching hydroponics, which I didn't know a 3rd grader knew what hydroponics was, but she did, and she was very excited about her sustainable garden that is currently thriving at Lucia Wallace in the art room if you ever want to see it. The next slide, you can see one of my 4th graders. She's researching the history of the Colosseum. I've got students researching the Colosseum, constellations, lots of various topics that are really interesting. And then the picture at the bottom is also of all of our students who got to go see the Lion King. So those are kind of some of the big changes and highlights of our program so far this year and in the last 2 years. Do you have any questions for me, or?
They get those Chromebooks in pieces.
They really did, yes. It was, I think we were there for probably 2.5 hours, maybe 3 hours. And they asked me, what time is it, Mrs. Brandt? And I told them it was about time to leave. And they said, we've only been here for 10 minutes. And I said, boys, we've been here for 3 hours. And they were really, really into it. So, and Jed walked them through they took it apart completely. Like every piece you could take apart of the Chromebook. And then we're able to put it all back together as well, which was really cool.
And it worked?
Actually, Jed wouldn't let us have working Chromebooks, so these Chromebooks were already.
We assume it did.
Already had been chaos, but Tyler said they would have all turned on. They both would have turned on if they had been functional Chromebooks.
So this, I think we spoke about a makerspace one time, and that's kind of like, do we have a makerspace in any of our elementaries?
We do not, but I'm also this STEM teacher for the elementaries, and I just got approval for a grant that I applied for, and I'm going to be getting a big STEM kit to utilize in my 1st and 2nd grade STEM classes, which will be a little more makerspace related. But for the passion projects, they're picking what they're interested in, and I'm just more providing them with the materials that they need, and they do all the research, and it's 100% led by them. I just give them the materials that they need. Yeah. Okay.
Very good.
Thank you.
We'll take those
You
into
can pass them around.
Sure.
There you go.
Good luck with that.
Thank you.
May.
Yes, it's in May. It's in the PAC. So.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your patience.
Yep.
All right, we're gonna move on into new business then, and the additional baseball coach.
Yeah, we do have the numbers to support an additional baseball coach. We've done this the last 2 years as well, so we are anticipating, once again, enough players to have a 7th grade team, then enough players to have an 8th grade team play a freshman schedule, and enough players to have a 9th grade team play a freshman schedule, plus then our JV varsity as normal. We've done this the last 2 years, great problem to have. And our coaches have done a really good job, because really we're creating a whole new schedule and a whole new team. But it gives kids a lot of opportunities. So I would recommend, once again, the additional baseball coach for the 2023 season.
Thanks, Jay. Do you have a second?
Second the motion.
Thank you, John. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We'll move on to approving the Algonah Community School Foundation representative.
Yeah, this is an annual appointment that takes place by you guys. The appointment takes place because the Algonah Community School Foundation is not a private foundation. They must have a certain number of their foundation board members appointed by our board, which is the supporting public organization. This helps to ensure that the foundation would never operate in a way that's not supported by the schools. So these are Liz Stillwater, Kirk Hayes, Morgan Keeker, Bill Farnham, Ben Kern, and John Scuffam are the Algonah Community School Foundation representatives to be appointed by our board.
All right, we want to thank them for a lot of their years, some for many years, and some maybe just getting started, but for their dedication. Need a motion for approval? Thank you, Lori, and a second by Jay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Two of those members may be our original foundation.
Yeah, okay.
John and Kurt.
Open enrollments?
We did those.
Okay, we don't, okay.
They were all for next year.
All right, we'll move into resignations then, under personnel.
We have, that's Beth Duffield, Lucia Wallace, Shayna Wood, Middle School Social Studies, Leah Deutsch, Middle School Language Arts, Natalie Knobloch, High School, Middle School Special Ed, Justin Knoll, Library Associate, James Roeder, Middle School Girls Wrestling Coach, Blair Bradley, Freshman Boys Basketball, pending suitable replacement, and Rachel Zetlaw, Drama and Forensics, pending suitable replacement. Ms. Duffield's we have found a replacement for, Ms. Woods we found a replacement for, Natalie Knobloch we found a replacement for. So we've done really well with the teachers, the English position is what we're still.
Okay. Need a motion then to approve the resignation. Thanks, Jay. Do we have a second? Second. Thanks. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resignation's approved. New contracts, just one?
Yeah, new contracts are slim for this school year, and we have one, Cameron Rendoni, middle school baseball coach.
The extra one, or we still need to add more?
No, I just still need another.
We still need that, okay. Need a motion to approve contracts.
So moved.
Thanks, Todd, you have a second.
Second.
Thanks, Lori, I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. As we get ready to adjourn, I just want to thank everybody for the great discussion tonight, both agendas, so appreciate all that. I think we kept our mission and our vision within our cohort, so. We now need a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Thanks, Jay, do we have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Gloria, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thanks. Pass down this.
All right, a lot of space on the wall right here.
I was gonna get a free exam.
Oh, drop it.
Real
I
good.
think it's work for my peg.
And you're just sitting here like nothing happened,
Yes,
or?
I'm sore. No, I was trying to stop a calf from getting out of the trailer.
Let it go.